Welcome to Smart Parks Forward on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, hosted by Dave Ramirez, live every second and fourth Monday of the month. Sponsored by OutdoorLink, where we explore the technology, ideas, and innovations helping parks become smarter, more connected, and more impactful. Let's dive into the future of parks and recreation. In this episode, we explore how smart technology is helping parks become more efficient, connected, and secure. Learn how innovative solutions are improving park operations, reducing costs, and creating better experiences for communities.
All right. Good afternoon or good morning if you're coming from the West Coast. I'm Dave Ramirez, and this is Smart Parks Forward, tech show, story show, involved with the Daily Parks and Rec Show and the DPRS Network. Again, I'm Dave. I'm your host. I'm glad to be here today. Glad everybody's jumped on with us, and hopefully you will definitely enjoy today's show. A little different format today. Basically, a little about myself. If you're new to the show, I'm a retired Parks and Recreation professional. I did the career for 32 years and then moved on over to the private sector, where I am the National Parks and Rec Specialist and VP for Business Development for OutdoorLink, who's going to be our guest today. We're privileged to have the CEO, DJ Jennings, on board, and we're going to talk a little bit about the company, where it came from, what it does, and where we're headed. So it's going to be really a good technology and innovation show today, focused on what's hot and what's happening in the country and around the world when it comes to smart parks and smart cities. So, we're going to go ahead. Like I said, the focus of the show is always about leadership and impact to our communities with innovation. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about stories on, what we learned, what we're learning, and some of the challenges that we've overcome along the way. So, again, smart technology is out there. It's improving operations, increasing efficiency, enhancing safety throughout our communities on a daily basis. So we are here just to go ahead and focus on that, learn a little bit. So go ahead, stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and jump into the interview part shortly. But until then, go ahead and hold on. We're going to do a quick spot. We're going to focus and highlight the DPRS network and our supporters. So stay tuned.
All right, so we're going to run things a little bit differently. Typically, we'll do some of the promos in the middle, but I wanted to kind of give my pitch on OutdoorLink because I'm pitching all the time, and I can't think of two better people to kind of dial in my pitch than the CEO of the company and Dave Ramirez, which is in charge of getting the word out. And then we'll run that promo real quick. And so, all right, so here's how I typically do it. We're going to cut to a short commercial break to thank our sponsors, OutdoorLink. And OutdoorLink has been, big shout out to them. They've been one of our biggest sponsors and supporters when we were just getting started. And now to look back, we had one show back then. Now we have 10 shows all talking about Parks and Rec. And we produce a show twice a month with Dave Ramirez called the Smart Parks Forward. And it's where we talk about technology coming into this space on the hardware side. And so the way I try to explain it to people is if you have a smart home that helps you turn on your lights or turn on the AC or open the garage door. Imagine if your entire city was a smart city. And so this is what Dave and DJ do with their company. They help cities become smart cities so that you can control with a smart device or an iPad or a desktop, your splash pads, your bathroom door locks, or your parking lot lights or your baseball field lights. And so if you're interested in helping your city to become a smart city, Dave and OutdoorLink is the kind of team for you. All right, so how did I do? What am I missing?
DJ, I think it sounded pretty good.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I'm practicing on it. All right, so let's go ahead and run that promo. So this is the commercial that we collaborated with their marketing team to try to explain that. So Jovi, why don't you go ahead and run the OutdoorLink promo, and then we'll come back and start our conversation with DJ and Dave.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where OutdoorLink comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. OutdoorLink's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why OutdoorLink proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. OutdoorLink, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
It's not just water. It's responsibility. It's leadership. It's not just drowning prevention or water safety. It's life. And every day, aquatics professionals make decisions that save lives. Because aquatics is more than swim lessons. It's community, it's creativity, it's impact. For over 30 years, aquatics hasn't just been my profession, it's been my life. I've seen the challenges, the pressure, the grind, but I've also seen the power of great leadership and what happens when communities come together. This is where education meets entertainment, where real conversations happen, where aquatics professionals come together to learn, lead, and grow. Because aquatics should bring people together. This is Aquatics Life, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
Hey, Dave, I asked Jovi to go ahead and play that promo for our Friday show. Are y'all starting to dip your toe into controlling any of the aquatic side or splash pads or any of that kind of stuff yet?
We are. In fact, we do have clients around the country that are using us for different aspects of aquatic facilities. Everything from, monitoring, circulation, power, controlling the lights in and out of the pool and around the pool. And also on the splash pad side, yes, schedules. That's the big thing with splash pads, is to go ahead and make sure schedules are set for them to run and they're not running when they don't need to be. And the big thing is that power outage feature we have, that notification when power goes down, because there's no worse situations to get a call complaining that you go to the splash pad and it's not up and running and you find out that the power's down for some reason and you don't know because they're not staffed. So, our system goes ahead and sends out that alert, to an email and a text message saying, hey, power's down. So the user will know, and they can go ahead and slide on over, find out what the problem is and get that splash pad up and running and keep those residents happy.
Yeah, well, let's definitely get you on the Aquatics Life show, because we've got a nice community of aquatics directors. And I think, a lot of times I think we just think about the baseball field light, turning that off and on. But I think there's a potential vertical for y'all to start really getting the word out on how y'all partner with aquatic centers.
Last week's show, I brought Scott Moore on from Pompano Beach, Florida, and they are using us in their aquatic center, and their
Nice.
aquatic director loves us. They said it has streamlined so many things that need to be done, and it's been helping her out tremendously. So yes, glad to do so.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, DJ, thank you so much for putting fuel in our tank, man. You have helped us to grow this thing into what it is today. And really appreciate you kind of believing in us when we were just kind of a concept.
Yeah, no, it's been great. We're excited to be a part of it. You guys have done a phenomenal job, and I can't help but laugh talking about the splash pads. So funny enough, I have a just turned 3-year-old last week and a 5-year-old, and they are out of school. Today is their first day of summer. And I was just thinking about my wife taking them to a splash pad and how excited my kids would be to go.
Oh, yeah.
How the day would be absolutely ruined if it wasn't working. And it's at first I used to think, whatever, splash pads, who really cares? Then I had kids, and I can just imagine how disappointed my daughter would be in the fallout I would have to deal with if I promised them a splash pad that wasn't working.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially in the southern states, man. We take splash pad. That is almost like a necessity to deal with the heat that we have down here in the South. Well, Dave, I'll hop off here in a minute and let you I don't want to hijack your show, but I'm curious as to what y'all have kind of learned over these last few years of really digging in deep for the Parks and Rec department and how they're using y'all's services and products.
Well, I'll start and I'll let DJ follow up. But basically, before coming on board with OutdoorLink, I was in Parks and Recreation. I was a client of OutdoorLink. And when we brought them on, I had problems. I had issues with things, lights being on at 2 a.m. and getting the calls and complaints and the unauthorized use and all the other nightmares that Parks and Rec deals with. Bringing in this smart controller and platform, it was a tool to help me do my job better, and to not go ahead and be wasteful, because when a light didn't get turned on a ball field, and I got a call at midnight, I had to send somebody out there, or I had to go out there to flip a switch, and after 11 p.m. my folks were getting overtime if I could find somebody to go ahead and get out there at that time. So and now think about today. With fuel prices or whatnot, we're not when you do the old school method, you're not working efficient. So for me, it was all about efficiency, and it showed after year one of us having 60 units at 55 different sports complexes hooked up. Our utility bills lowered. We saved over $500,000, because the lights were only being used when they were supposed to. So again, I've shared that story, in my travels around the country here in the last few years, and people are taking notice, and the pain points they're suffering, I suffered them firsthand. So I go to them and say that there's a solution, and you can go ahead and work smarter and do better, and you're going to see your communities and your dignitaries, your commissioners and city managers take notice, because things are just operating better.
Yeah. One thing I'd like both of y'all to kind of talk about is, so when I explain to Parks and Rec directors kind of what y'all do and how y'all partner with them, I tell them, they haven't just been doing this. It's not like a new idea that y'all have had, that y'all have kind of cut your teeth in the billboard industry and have some crazy number. What do you have, like 30,000 or 80,000 units out there in the worst? Oh my gosh, that's nuts. And that y'all aren't just on your version 1. If I remember correctly, this is like the 7th or 8th iteration of your product design. So you've kind of learned so much over those years. What were kind of some of those early lessons y'all learned as y'all were really dialing this device in?
I wouldn't even know where to start. I guess at the beginning, the company was started by my father in 2007. So I grew up in the billboard industry. My father was a billboard operator. He came out of college in the late 60s, and he started working on billboards. And kind of the Achilles heel of billboard industry is you have all these assets, but they're spread out far away from you. You have no visibility. You have your central office, much like the Parks and Rec departments, but you have all your assets far away where you have to drive to see them. And if you want to know what's going on with them, you either drive them at night when you'd rather be at home with your family or in bed asleep, or you wait for a customer call and complain and say, my lights aren't out, I need a credit or a refund or whatever the issue is. So it's kind of a natural evolution of how we solve those pain points. And that's what kind of attracted us to Dave. My father came from being an operator, experiencing those issues, knowing those pain points, utility costs rising every single year, nothing you can do about it to fight back. Customer complaints, customer satisfaction because the lights aren't out. I'm sure when him and my mom had me and my sisters that throwing us in the car seats to go ride lights at 8 o'clock at night wasn't ideal. Okay, so there were all these issues that he experienced firsthand, and just took those lessons and tried to solve them. That's why we went out and we had a great partnership with Hillsboro and Dave, I can toot my own horn as much as I want, but I'll be humble and admit I'm not a Parks and Rec guy. I knew that there was similar pain points, similar issues experienced. The Parks and Rec industry is craving technology now. It's an antiquated industry that's catching up rapidly, but it's still behind other industries in the technology adoption. Dave was, to be honest, kind of a pain in the ass at first. He had all these issues and ideas, kind of talk about the evolution of our product is through clients like Dave who are out there using it and telling us what their issues are and telling us what they needed to do. We're not guessing at what the industry's problems are. We have a device that's very capable, very flexible, and we have valued clients like Dave was that say, hey, I need it to do better here, or hey, my biggest issues, we solved the lights, but now I got door lock problems, or hey, my splash pads are cutting off on me. And that's how we continue to evolve. So we started humble origins on billboards, turning lights on and off. And we evolved to, we have over 100,000 devices in 29 countries. We are controlling everything from billboard lights, hog traps in Texas, pool pumps, splash pads, landscape lighting, whatever it is with a power switch that you need to have some remote visibility on, and we're there.
Yeah. Dave, can you kind of explain some of those Parks and Rec specific problems that you were being a headache for DJ and his team on that he helped solve for y'all?
Well, when I was calling Richard, on a regular basis, Richard, one of our team members over at OutdoorLink, him and I got to be real close before coming even onto the company. But, when there was, I'm going to give a real good example. Prior, our system, you could have unlimited users. All right. And the box itself has a customer support number on it. When I was having issues with unauthorized lights being used, I would call and say, hey, who turned these lights on? How did they get turned on? The system has an activity log and reports and whatnot. Well, I found out that unauthorized users saw that phone number and would call, and customer support would be like, oh man, that's a bummer. We'll get the lights turned on. But the lights weren't supposed to be turned on. So we had to go ahead and say, listen, only talk to folks if they're giving you a name and they're an authorized user in the account, then they can go ahead and advise what needs to be done or whatnot. So that was one of them, and that was taken care of real quick. During one of our hurricane seasons, we need to go ahead and shut down everything, prior to a storm coming. And there was a little snag in that, but we fixed that. We turned it down, and when we turned it back up, all the old users that were taken out of the system came back in. So it was a little bit of a mix up there, but we got it straightened up and we evolved, and now that situation doesn't occur anymore. Those are the two that just come off the top of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's been great ever since. And like I said, DJ, I'll take that pain in the ass comment, because you know what? I know that we, as that product, as I knew and learned the product as a client and then coming on board, I knew that there was more to it than just monitoring lights. because, again, Parks and Rec, there's so much involved. So
that's how you improve. You don't improve when everything's great. When you have zero feedback, you don't get any better.
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
that is correct.
Yeah, I really love how DJ's built a team that has a tight feedback loop from the clients themselves. So they're getting like real world, real time data back from the complainers, which is your clients. And then DJ can go back into the laboratory and kind of build what they want and what serves them. And a big shout out to your team, Joseph and Craig and Dave. They're all former Parks and Rec professionals. Why did you kind of choose to go that route of kind of using the Parks and Rec professionals as your team to kind of get the word out and get this product into the Parks and Rec industry?
What's the old Tommy Boy quote? You can stick your head up a book, or you can just ask a butcher.
That's right.
That's kind of it. It was, hey, why would we go out and guess? I think what we did is identified a need and said, okay, we've had some success in billboards. What other industries are similar? What other industries have pain points to where from a centralized location, they need visibility of all their assets, whether that's 5 miles away or 500 miles away. There's no way to weigh the stress or the workload on an employee or a maintenance supervisor or electrician that has to get out of bed at midnight to go turn lights off, or that has to deal with an issue that's further away. So what we did is we went and we talked to the people who experienced those issues. Dave lived it for 30 years. Craig lived it. Joseph lived it. I have never in my life worked in Parks and Rec. I can identify a need and I can look and say, hey, this industry is still using technology that's over 100 years old. I don't know if y'all know that, but a photo cell and an astronomic timer, which is 99% of what everybody's using, those devices were invented by some man that we can't even pronounce his name in 1910.
Wow.
And the industry every year, every day craves new technology. We're implementing charting systems. We're implementing and integrating AI in our businesses, in our operations. But at a fundamental level, at a basic level, we're using antiquated devices that are really keeping us from moving forward. You can have the best software and the best charting platform, scheduling platform in the world, but if you have to drive out there and flip a switch, or if the Pee-wee coach can go in there and leave the lights on, what good is it? So we're trying to solve those issues. We're trying to bring the hardware, the infrastructure of Parks and Rec up to speed.
Yeah. Most companies like yourself, DJ, find a product that's built in China, engineered in China, everything's there, and you're just essentially nothing more than a middleman. But you chose to build your team to where your hardware and software engineers are literally 1 or 2 doors down from you. What's been the benefit of having all that done in-house?
It's invaluable. I mean, to a small business, it is. So we have about 25 employees. For those that don't know, we're not a massive company. We're still a small family business. My mother's office is right next to me. My sister's down the hall. My uncle works in customer support. We are a small business, and being able to have discussions across the hallway with open doors, and hearing the discussions we're having with our clients, and having the engineers right next to us, hearing those same conversations, being in on those conversations, instead of having to get off, drive somewhere, send an email, wait for a 12-hour time change for somebody to come back and try to understand what I've relayed to them. It just doesn't work. We pay a premium for it. We have, of our 25-ish employees, we have 7 full-time engineers on staff, and our manufacturing facility is 5 miles down the road here in Huntsville. All our parts, all our products are made here in the United States. And it's just been invaluable to have a team that, in and out of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also your customer service. So if you call with a problem, you're going to hear some thick North Alabama accent answering the phone to help you deal with it. I think that was a brilliant move there.
Yeah. That's part of the culture. That's part of our culture. kind of going back to something Dave said earlier, I think you'd be hard pressed when we talk about hearing what our clients have to say and their feedback. I guarantee you, every one of our clients has a cell phone number. They're not just calling our office. They can text Dave, they can text me, they can call me. We're connected with our clients. You're not paywalled. You're not, on a busy line waiting for somebody or an automated answer. You're talking to the people that you work with and that support you every day.
Yeah. And maybe even speak about how, you're not just buying a product from Amazon and good luck kind of thing. It's you truly are partnering really to the end of time. As long as they're using the services and stuff, you're there to kind of help them. Why was that important for you to have?
It's all about quality to us. It's all about, we kind of were raised on, my parents raised us on the golden rule, and, that's do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I think that spreads into every facet of our lives. And, I think that we want people to use our products because they want to. We don't force people to. We don't, try to pigeonhole anybody into it. We want to give genuine solutions that actually help people, because that forms long-lasting relationships, partnerships. Most of our clients, I think we actually calculated it the other day. We have over 1,000 individual clients, and I think each year we've lost less than 2. So, wow. And typically that's in the commercials. So we do gas stations, parking lot lighting, commercial properties, and I think of those, it's some group has acquired them, or some obscure reason, but we've never lost a client because our system flat out didn't work. They weren't happy with us. We'll go to the ends of the earth to make it right. If it's not working, we'll send our people there to troubleshoot. We'll get on the phone with your guys at night. We'll do whatever we can to make sure that what we've given you is working.
Yeah. Yeah. That really is a testimony to how good your product and services is when you only have a churn rate of, what's that, less than 0.1%? Yeah. That's unheard of. All right. So are there any new bells and whistles that y'all are working on as far as functionality? And then I'd also, well, here's one thing I'd like to talk about. If you want to know how well designed any software is, how long is your onboarding process? And so if your onboarding process is weeks before they can figure it out, did you know that the onboarding process, which is mostly just chit chat and conversation, is 15 minutes? You now know how to run this stuff. That's insane. How did y'all accomplish that?
Well, I know, just to come on and chime in here, when we were talking about the system, I said, got to keep it simple. Parks and Recreation have the people have so many responsibilities. We cannot burn hours and hours or weeks or days of time. So we got to keep the system simple. We get in, we do an onboarding, 15, 20 minutes, boom, they're into the system like a pro. And like I said, if there's a problem or question, they could call myself or anybody from the team, and we're going to get with them and get them right. I always say, when I'm sitting down with a past or a current client or a new client, I share tips and tricks because I learned it, pretty much inside out when I was on the other side. So now I just get to share that with everybody else coming on board. Yeah. And when, it's like a little bell rings or a little light bulb pops up when I say, you could do this, or you could look at this, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been needing something like that forever. So again, super, super simple. Simple's great.
Yeah. And you don't need any technical background or need your, data scientist to run this software, correct?
No. I've worked with some, I call them old timers because I was one of those back in the day. And, old school mentality, whatnot. Once they get in and see it, they see the benefits of it, and they support it and jump on board. Yeah. It's, you still will have those, folks that like to, I had a client say, we want to send our person out to flip a switch. I'm like, that's fine. If that's how you want to manage, that's great. But that's in the minority, honestly, man. Most folks know that, they need to take their staff and let them focus on what's really important while they're on the job, not little things, let's go ahead and take care of those little things with a simple tool like ours. And that's how I put it.
Yeah. So pretty much if you can order a book off of Amazon, you're qualified to run this system. You can have zero experience with any type of software, whatever, and you're up and running in just a few minutes.
That is correct.
Yeah. Fantastic. So are there any new tricks that y'all are kind of have in the pipeline that are coming out, or what's kind of some of the use cases that people might not be familiar with?
DJ, you want to start? You got anything on your from Huntsville?
We have a lot coming out. We have some new devices, some new products that are going to give us more flexibility to provide control of individual assets. Wi-Fi in field houses, gate locks, door locks, meters at parking stations, ticket booths, just anything that might not justify a larger unit for broader control. But what's really interesting is I think we've been putting a lot of effort into kind of our data analytics and how we can regurgitate some of this data that we collect to provide better insights. So things like, hey, what's my top, which park is using the most utilities? Which one is the most inefficient? So you want to go in and say, okay, my goal this year is to reduce my consumption by 20% or to streamline and become more efficient. Go in, pinpoint those assets, give you a place to focus on, give you some suggestions on how to accomplish that. So kind of integrating some AI, integrating some data analytics to provide some better insights. But I think I'm most excited about, we have a new product coming out called the Little One. It's, for whatever reason, engineers love weird names, so it's the Little One. And it's a lower cost unit. It can control a couple devices, but it's perfect for those pavilions, those outlets, or those single asset locations that don't require a more expensive product to handle the need.
Dave, you got anything to add to that?
Well, we are the controller itself has evolved, so we have like add-on features. If you need a dim a light, if you got LED lights and we come in and start controlling those, we could dim those. We have a camera feature that goes into the system. So if you need some still photography, a live feed, but you need some, you get a call that somebody has entered a ball field that shouldn't be out there on a Wednesday night, and you get wind of it. You could go ahead and go on to the portal and look at what's going on live, and you see somebody enter the field, you could snap those photos, and then you could send your staff person out there to handle it, not sending them out there for no reason. So that's another thing. There's other sensors that were involved, trying to think here, one of the other tools here, there's a sensor where, like, if lights get turned on, motion, all that kind of, we just continue to evolve, and it's fun because, sometimes when I start throwing ideas out, I'm just throwing them out there, and if they stick, great, what I'm saying? But if I get more input from our clients, we're going to build off that. What I'm saying? We may get an idea and it's from an individual or one or two off, and we'll look at it. If we think it's got some meat to it, we're going to add it to the list and do it. But then if I continue to get more requests or ideas from others, we're gonna jump on it and try to develop it and see how we can make it happen. One thing I used to, going back to the customer support part of it, though, that was one of the big features I enjoyed. And I joked earlier about calling Richard on a daily basis, but we didn't have to. But when we did, I knew I could count on Richard or whoever answered the phone to help me with my issue. There was no, and it was always resolved right away and in a timely manner. The report system that we have in this, activity logs, you could actually see who turned the light on. And if they weren't supposed to turn the light on, you could hold them accountable for that unauthorized use. Big thing that Hillsborough County used during the hurricanes of 2024 is after the storms blew through, they were able to go onto the maintenance summary report that's provided within our system and go and see where the power was not on. So they could go ahead and deploy their teams to those more critical sites to try to get things cleaned up and running again, instead of just sending them out blindly. Because like in the athletics world, on a complex, you got irrigation wells, you got freezers and refrigerators and concession stands. You got a lot of other things. When the power's down, you need to know, because the last thing you want is go ahead and you got so much going on, and you send somebody to a site 5 days later, and that freezer's been down for 5 dawe And when they open it up, look what you got. So, that's a great report that we have. So there's just so much we go on. And honestly, when we do the onboarding, we go into the system and let you know how to use it. And then there's a whole tutorial page where they could dive in and look at the different things that are there. And if they have any questions, they just contact us and we can go ahead and go over it further or more.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so we've reached the halfway point of our show. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And thank you for liking and sharing and subscribing. I just saw we have Wesley King and Aaron Locks is also paying attention. By the way, you should probably get on Aaron's show as well, because he talks to a ton of athletic directors, which are typically having to drive out and turn these lights off and on. But I wanted to give a big shout out to one of our other great sponsors, the National Academy of Athletics. If you have programming that you are just not staffed to be able to run, so let's say you're really good at like baseball and football, soccer, but your community wants you to run a pickleball league or a volleyball camp or flag football or something. So Aaron and his team has partnered with countless Parks and Rec departments to run the programs they're not equipped to run. And they do everything turnkey, from coaching, staffing, everything, registration, t-shirts, you name it. So he's been a really great sponsor. And he's also one of our show hosts for our Youth Sports Mastery show. So Jovi, why don't you go ahead and play the National Academy of Athletics promo? And then on the back of that, I'd like DJ to kind of see our 500th episode. Thank you. And this goes out to all of our sponsors, all of our show guests like Dave and other directors and stuff. We could not have gotten to the 500th episode without y'all's help. So why don't you play those, and we'll come back and finish up our conversation with Dave and DJ.
They say it's Just Rec. Just Rec, where kids learn to try again. Just Rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
It didn't start with a big studio. It didn't start with a massive audience. It started with a simple idea. One conversation, one camera, one episode. Back then, DPRS Media Network was just a vision. No guarantees, no roadmap, just a purpose. To tell stories that mattered. Stories from the Parks and Recreation community. Stories of leadership, passion, impact, and the people making a difference every single day. Episode by episode, that vision began to grow. More conversations, more voices, more people who believed in what we were building. What started as a show became something much bigger. A place where people felt seen. A place where ideas were shared. A place where the Parks and Rec community could connect, learn, and inspire one another. And today, we celebrate a major milestone. 500 episodes. 500 stories, 500 moments, 500 reasons to keep moving forward. But this is not the finish line. This is the beginning of our next chapter. In the months ahead, And in the years to come, DPRS Media Network is growing into something even greater. We are building something truly special for the parks and recreation community. Something designed to bring people closer, to create stronger connections, to open new opportunities, and to continue serving the people who inspire everything we do. We are also expanding our reach through new partnerships, working with organizations who believe in our mission, partners who share our vision for community, leadership, and impact. And beyond the screen, we're showing up in more places than ever before, attending conferences, meeting leaders face-to-face, building connections that strengthen our community. Because DPRS has never been just about content. It has always been about connection. To everyone who has been with us, from episode 1 to episode 500, thank you. This milestone belongs to all of you. Here's to how it all started. And here's to everything still to come. The future of DPRS Media Network starts now.
All right. So, and y'all might not know this, but did you know OutdoorLink not only sponsors the Daily Bitcoin Show, the Daily Bitcoin Show, the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Sorry, that was my first media company I ever built. But y'all are sponsoring a lot of the state associations showing up in NRPA. So kind of where are y'all traveling to? Are y'all able to make all 50 states, or how many did y'all cover in the last 12 months?
Well, that's a goal. We want to go ahead and outreach to everybody so they can learn about us. We have done some travel in the first half of the year. We were an opening day sponsor of the National Parks and Rec Conference in Orlando last year. We will be attending the National Parks and Rec Show at the end of September over in Philadelphia. And again, we are now, I'm a member representing OutdoorLink at 39, almost 40 parks and rec associations.
Wow.
So I am on their chat forums. I'm following what they're doing, and I'm putting our word out as much as I can to them. And it's amazing how sometimes it's just a little post or an email or just a little outreach of what's new and what's happening with us that draw people in. And it takes time. Sometimes, it takes a little time to build. And, for the 3 years that I've been here, we have definitely grown, and the word's getting out. And like some of our newest clients, we've locked in clients in Oregon and over on the West Coast, which was a little bit slower than what we have on the East Coast. Central the United States is starting to boom right now, bringing in new folks, hopefully from Oklahoma. Everybody's getting word. It starts at the national level. People that attend that show see us, and we're giving them, we're showing them what we're about and who we are. And then we start going out on the state level. And, it's been great. We're growing, and people like us. I think you have to have a personality and be personable. Like DJ had mentioned earlier, myself and the team, we're Parks and Rec guys. And so we know we could talk and we could relate. And I think that works wonders, because there's a trust involved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of folks that, will be like, you gotta hook up to the Wi-Fi, our county or city Wi-Fi. No, we don't. We clarify that we're a cellular controller, so you don't need that. You know what I'm saying? It's simple. So, that's been the biggest thing, and I've been enjoying meeting people from around the country and hearing those out. And DJ will smile on this one. When you work with government, it's not always the quickest process. But we are working very hard to go ahead and alleviate that time and help our potential government clients. We're a sole source provider. We are now part of Sourcewell, which is a government purchasing platform. Whatever we can do to make things easier for our clients and potential clients, we're out there and we're doing it.
Yeah, we all doing a great job getting the word out. And maybe I'll ask DJ, why was it important for you to work with the state associations? And y'all just don't sponsor a booth and that's it. Y'all usually are sponsoring like an evening event, and you're really going the extra mile to really support our state associations. Why was that kind of part of your go-to-market strategy and getting the word out about what y'all do?
Well, I think it's important, one, to support the industry and show that you're committed to it. It's easy to show up. It's not easy to put your money where your mouth is sometimes. And what I kind of smirk at in the background, if we're going to 39 different associations, that's a lot of money. It is not a cheap endeavor. So we are 3 years into this. I think, Dave, 3 years into the Parks and Rec.
With me here, yes, sir.
Yeah, we still spend more money on shows than we bring in sales. I mean, we are still trying to increase the sales and get everything deployed. Now, we are progressing at a great speed, but it's not a cheap endeavor, but it's an investment. We are investing in our future. We're investing in an industry just like out of home and billboards that we want to be a part of and still here talking 20 years from now. We're not here to make a quick hit, sell some software, sell some controllers, get out and move on. We're here for the long haul, being a part of these associations, getting out and meeting everybody, and showing people that we wake up, put our pants on one leg at a time, go to work just like they do. Normal company, normal folks out here to improve an industry. I think there's no better way to do it than to get out, meet people, shake hands, form relationships with them.
Yeah. We all are definitely, I think I spoke to somebody out in Minnesota. Aren't y'all making a big dent over there? I had somebody at I had one of
we
their
are making some waves in Minnesota. They like us. We have support with our clients that are there. Again, making that relationship at the NRPA conference. And, a couple of their leaders brought us in, and they are speaking for us. They're promoting us because they believe in what, they see they're reaping the benefits, and they want to share that with their counterparts around the state. So Minnesota has been fantastic for us.
Yeah. How did California go for y'all? I know that was a huge show. We were able to go there as a media company and cover that event. They did a great job out in California.
They did one of the larger shows in the country, when it comes to Parks and Recreation. And yes, got a lot of interest, bringing in new clients. 3 years ago, we didn't have a unit in California, but now we have several, and it continues to grow. I have, some on retainer right now ready. They're waiting on their Sourcewell stuff to come through so they could go ahead and make that simple purchase because, especially in California, sometimes a little bit more difficult to make things happen. So we're doing everything we can to help them out so they could jump on board and become part of the team.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual product. So I know originally this was literally just a light switch on your cell phone or something like that. And now it's become so much more where you can actually measure the electricity, the amp loads, or what are kind of some of the other way that y'all are manipulating that data to give back to the consumer so that they can really understand what's going on aside from just being able to turn a switch off and on?
DJ, you want to jump in on that a little bit? Let you start.
I mean, look, so it's one thing that I think is very important for everybody to realize is you cannot overcomplicate what we do. Okay. We turn things on and off. That's why it takes 15 minutes to learn how to use our system. That's why it's so intuitive. It's a fundamental law of the universe. You have electricity. When it's on, things are on. When it's off, things are off. Okay. We give you the ability to schedule them. So they come on whenever you want them to, go off whenever you want them to. Then if there are any issues that happen, power outages, bulb faults in certain cases, interruptions in service, you get notified about. Okay. There's nothing overly complicated. Again, what we're trying to do is, so the system sits there, the unit monitors that power. So we know if you have a 1,000-watt light up there and it's pulling 1,000 watts, everything's great. Okay, well, if it drops to 500 watts, something's gone wrong. Something's not working. And so we're notifying. We can record that daily consumption, that daily usage, and provide insights. Hey, lights are on in the middle of the night. Are you sure you should be, burning lights at night? Sure, that's the best case. Integrating with different software providers, different charting providers. So when fields are supposed to be occupied, lights come on. You don't have to get the keys and access to field houses to Pee Wee coaches to go in there and do it. There's a lot of different things going on, and specific to Parks and Rec, I'm sure Dave can answer a lot better than I can. But again, the system is very simple. You can't overcomplicate it. We tell you what's important to know, and we try to keep things that aren't very important, from bugging you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Dave?
And to build off that, the savings come in more than just the utility bill. When DJ mentioned, okay, those lights are on all night, that's wear and tear on those lights. That is reducing the life of that light. That's going to eventually have to be replaced or repaired, depending on LED or the old school halogen lights, so you think about that. When the savings comes in, like where I came from, it also included that travel when there was an issue and somebody had to go. We looked at that. You know what I'm saying? If it took 15 minutes to turn a light off at midnight, that staff person got 3 hours of overtime because it was outside of scheduled business hours. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that, and the savings comes in there. I mentioned the cost of fuel right now. It's just, there's so much to go. And, what we did with Hillsboro is we found out what the rate was on a kilowatt of power, and we took it, and there was a form to fill out and figure out where the savings was. And when we compare that to the actual dollars that were being sent out to pay bills and whatnot, we came up with that over $500,000. So, it paid for itself. You know what I'm saying? We got the units hooked up, and within a year, it paid for itself with the savings in other ways. So again, that's a bunch of talk that may sound a little bit more in depth and more to talk about, but like DJ say, simple system, on, off, this and that. That's what we're here for. If you want that information, you contact me or somebody else from the team, and we could go ahead and divvy out and get into the meat and potatoes about, what's inside the system. But a lot of folks are just looking for that convenience where they could manage, monitor, and control better.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if this is like a future product feature, but do y'all ever intend to have your system detect how much amps a certain system draws, so that if and the way I'm going with this is like pump motors, when they're running fine, they draw a certain amp load, but right before they go out, if you can have some preventative maintenance, they all of a sudden start drawing a lot more. And so you might have a heads up, hey, in 3 months, this thing's getting ready to go out because it's drawing way more amps than it normally does. Is that in the future, or can it do that now, or where are y'all at with that?
Yeah, so we can do that now. That's not something that we have gotten asked for very often. So it's not something that's just visible on the system. And that's within a certain threshold as well. Our units do have a limit to how many amps they can control. In a lot of cases, we'll use what's called a contactor. So say a baseball field, right? So our units are limited to, I think, 30 amps a relay. Okay, so if we exceed that, which most pylon lights, talking about an entire field, are going to exceed that, and you have those huge lights up there. We use a contactor. It's just a big breaker in between our unit and the lights that allow us to control it. When we have to do that, we lose the ability to detect those exact measurements. But pending that amperage is below the threshold, it's not a problem. But there are limitations to what we can do.
Yeah. And so y'all kind of sit in this they call it IoT, Internet of Things, smart city play. At least that's how I kind of define y'all to other people that aren't familiar with y'all. How would you kind of define where y'all position yourself in that IoT market?
I think that we are IoT infrastructure. So when I think about it, it's a lot of times, a background thought. Like I said earlier, a photocell and a time clock, 100-year-old technology, but we're still using it. It's infrastructure. It's the frame of the house. You can schedule all the games you want at nighttime, but if those lights aren't on, you're not playing. Okay, so there's some. It's no different than a light bulb up there. We are a infrastructure, support the infrastructure of that.
Yeah. Dave, maybe you can talk about this. It's not just cost savings on electricity, but I think the biggest cost savings is just the labor that you save when because that's probably the most expensive way to turn a light switch on, which is to get in a truck, drive out there on a weekend, turn something off. That's the current model. Maybe talk about that labor cost savings.
Well, it's happening, around the country, folks. When it comes to lights and door locks, that's our biggest venture now. I actually went and visited Bartow Parks and Rec here in Florida on Thursday last week, and they've come up with a fantastic way to use our controller to go and these remote bathroom buildings around their downtown district and at all their pocket parks that they have. They would have to send somebody around to unlock and lock every day. They brought our controllers in. They set a time for them to be unlocked. And then they set a time for them to lock down where they can't open them after hours or once the sun goes down. And it's a schedule. But then they also can go ahead and, they'll have the alert. So if there's an issue where a door doesn't meet completely and it doesn't lock, they can get a notification stating that the door didn't get locked. Then they could send somebody out to make sure it's secure so it doesn't get vandalized or whatnot. So for me, it was, when Hillsborough County started with OutdoorLink, it was because of the lights being on all night and this guy, getting the emails every morning from the commissioner's office with complaints from the citizens, or getting direct calls and notification or, emails or whatnot from citizens saying two things. The lights are on. There's nobody on the field. It's midnight, 2:00 in the morning, and the lights are shining in my windows. I can't sleep. Or I'm a resident of the county and I'm paying for that electric bill, and that's wasteful. You know what I'm saying? And really the third excuse was some crazy kickball game going on at 2:00 in the morning, which has happened. And I'm sure folks that are listening have heard that before too. But it stopped. We would get that call and we could, I could just go on my phone and shut the lights off. You know what I'm saying? There's also a built-in feature. There's a curfew feature, Craig, into the system. So those lights will shut down at a time certain, and it shuts down the entire power. So maybe somebody unauthorized has access and wants to get out on a field after hours to use it, or unauthorized during a day off. They could go in all they want and try to turn them on, but they're not going to get turned on because our system has killed the power to it completely.
Yeah. Yeah, that bathroom door lock is a great use case, because I know, especially with a lot of inner city parks and rec departments, the bathroom, there might be somebody trying to sleep there during the night. So y'all can basically say this door will remain open up until 6:00, and then from 6 to like 5 in the morning, you can get out. So it's not going to lock people in there, so they can get out. And so that, to me, that's just a use case that every parks and rec department has. It seems like that would be a great solution to that problem.
Yeah, like I said, Bartow did it right. I went and looked at how they set it up. There's there's always a fail safe. So if somebody say somebody was in there at the time where the door got locked, there's a deadbolt or a panic bar so you can get out. You know what I'm saying? So nobody's ever locked in. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times in those buildings too, there's other features that can be controlled. There's lights. There's exterior outlets that instead of, flipping a breaker or putting a cover on that gets broken off, we just power down the outlet. So there's no juice to the outlet at a certain time. And it sounds crazy, but water fountains and bottle fillers, that they're electric, they're getting plugged in. And sometimes, you come back the next day and it looks like somebody took a bath in one. You could go ahead and shut that power down to that water fountain or bottle filler at that time. So, it's not being used. And when the next day, when it's time to open up the next day, you got a facility that it's clean and ready to be used by the public. And you're not getting a call saying this facility is a disaster. It's a mess. You need to send somebody over right away. There's a whole community out there walking the track or the trails. don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's taken care of, because it's, it's encouraging people not to be there, because a lot of times they're looking for that power or water or whatnot. So, it just helps.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So how can people get in touch with you? I know you're very active on LinkedIn. Y'all are on Facebook. Pretty much every state association, y'all are there. But how can they find out more about what y'all do?
Well, when it comes to Parks and Rec, they know to contact me or the team. They could go ahead and contact the main office. We have a sales email as well. Again, just an outreach directly to us, sales@outdoorlink.com, and I will get that email if there's inquiries. If you go to the website, there's a link for a demo right there, so you could go ahead and click that, and it will go ahead. You put your information in, it'll get shot over to the right person, so we could go ahead and schedule a demo or on our unit, or answer any questions somebody may have. So we're very accessible. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing. Just reach out. If you're calling, the customer support people probably don't want to hear this, but if you call after hours and you call them, they're just going to refer you to us. You know what I'm saying? And tell to reach out to us. But we're here 24/7 when it comes to the customer support side, and we're here for our clients and potential clients whenever they need us. I do a lot of late days because I cover the West Coast and I'm in Florida. So, I'm getting calls at 7 to 8 o'clock sometimes, and it's fine.
Yeah. DJ, any closing remarks as we kind of close up the show here?
No, I appreciate y'all having me on. I appreciate everything that you guys do for us and for the industry, and I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for believing in us in those early days. We definitely couldn't have gotten to where we are without you. And keep up the great work, man. Y'all are providing some vital infrastructure for this industry, and it's desperately needed. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Jovi, that's a wrap. Y'all stay tuned. We have a solid lineup here for the end of the week. And y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Love you guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Take care.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning, within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.